Good evening. Welcome to the Kent City Council meeting for Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. If you could all please rise and join me in the flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Kim, could you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor Ralph.
Here.
Council President Kaur.
Here.
Councilmember Boyce. I know he's here, he just stepped out.
Just step down.
Councilmember Boyd.
Here.
Councilmember Fincher.
Here.
Councilmember Larmer.
Here.
Councilmember Michaud.
Here.
Councilmember Troutner.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Any changes to the agenda?
None from staff, Your Honor.
All right, seeing none, a motion would be in order to approve the agenda as published.
So move. Second.
Got a motion and a second and a third. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to public communication. The first communication I have is the bomb cyclone is probably upon us, so fingers crossed. Lights have flashed a couple of times, but and I'm also hearing, and I think this could be why Councilmember Boyce stepped out, that we do have power going out around the city. So fingers crossed we'll get through tonight's business, and then everybody has power when they get home. So we shall see. With that, we will go ahead and move into public recognition. We do have a couple of proclamations this evening, as well as a presentation. We're going to start out there. So our charitable giving committee is here tonight, along with representatives from Akin. I've got Dana and Leonia. Did I get that? Okay, perfect. Here to accept this. Our charitable giving. Oh, thank you guys. Appreciate that. Our charitable giving committee comes together every year and rallies our staff to come to a pretty fun event. This year we held it at Shower Center, raise money for a local charity, and the organization that was chosen this year is Akin. I would like to have our committee members come up and maybe tell us a few words about sort of the process and that, and then we have a big check presentation, which is always fun.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Oh, thank you. So yes, our process every year is we reach out to our staff members and we ask them what resonates best with them. And we give them a list of different topics of, what's going on in the community. Is it children, mental health, wellness? And from that, we then reach out again and look into our community, find a nonprofit that fits that billing. Then we reach back out to the staff and say, okay, here's a list of the ones we found. Which one resonates best with you? And we give them a little intro into each one. And this year they chose Akin. And so this was our first year doing it at Showware. It was great to have the mayor and city council members there with us. We're hoping to keep doing that year after year now. And so we're proud to have raised a certain amount of money. We'll do a reveal up front. So we can have Leona and Dana come up, and we'll let them speak first.
That would be great. Tell us a little bit about the organization and why this support helps.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for having us and picking us as your your charitable thing for the city of Kent. It's really lovely, and we just want to say thank you. Akin just started out this year in January, honestly, of this year, the 4th. It's two organizations. If you are familiar with Child Haven and Children's Hope Society of Washington, both of those organizations have both been around for over 100 years, but we decided we wanted to come together so we are able to reach not only King County, where we were predominantly at as Child Haven, but now since we are combined with Children's Home Society of Washington, we're as far east as Spokane and as far south as Walla Walla and Vancouver. So we're able to help children and families through adverse traumatic situations. We do behavioral health as well as tangible goods. Sorry, that threw me off. And we actually have a family resource center right across the street, you guys, literally right across the street. And so we have
That way.
Oh, that way. Okay, thanks, guys. And it's just really great that you're able to go get food, diapers, clothes. You can even get food for your dogs because they're family too. So I always ask my sponsors and donors, what is their why? My why is my mom. She always made us have a safe place for not only I, but for the children and family. I mean, children in the neighborhood as well as my best friends. And I always hope that every child can have such a loving environment like what we had for my house. So that is my why, and I always hope that you guys look within your why. And thank you again so much for donating to us, and hopefully we can, you guys could just check us out at the Family Resource Center right across the street. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Did you want?
All right.
Oh.
So now we get to talk about the big check and the big number on the big check. So for everyone in the audience and on and viewing us online, that check says $10,850.
Thank you guys. Yes.
So I'm going to ask if you all could come over to the center so we can get a picture. Well,
No, we'll
With the check.
yeah.
Big check.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So I want to say thank you to the committee for putting the event together. It really was amazing. And thank you to all of our employees who donated. It is so, I think the reason that I hear, so some of the why that I hear from our employees and why they support this event each year is that they are committed to our community and want to give back to the community that takes care of our employees. So we are so very grateful for the work that Akin is doing, and so very grateful for our employees and showing the community what We Are Kent means. That is our tagline, and I think it shows through and through. And when we can present a big check that is really a big check, it means a lot. So thank you. I'm looking at our committee members and the folks that put it together, Akin, and again all of our employees for the generosity. So.
Well, thank you so very much. We really appreciate it. It is so powerful to see how the community comes together to support each other.
Yeah.
We see it every day. And so thank you for empowering the employees and staff to feel that same way, to help out. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, we are going to move on to our proclamations. The first proclamation I have is for Small Business Saturday, and I am going to ask, I'm going to say President Troutner in her role as the KDP president and Vice President Linda Gall, if they could come up to the podium. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. We'll do a photo and then have you say a few words. So the proclamation says, whereas the City of Kent celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, and whereas according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 32.5 million small businesses in the United States, and small businesses make up a significant portion of Kent's downtown core. And whereas over 95% of Kent's businesses have less than 100 employees, yet comprise 62% of our community's jobs. And whereas 2/3 of Kent businesses employ less than 10 people, and whereas consumers who shop on Small Business Saturday agree that shopping at a small, independently owned business supports their commitment to making purchases that have a positive social, economic, and environmental impact, and agree that small businesses are essential to their community. And whereas most consumers who shop on Small Business Saturday report the day makes them want to shop and to eat at small, independently owned businesses all year long, not just during the holiday season. And whereas the City of Kent supports our local businesses to create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our community. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, Dana Ralph, Mayor of Kent, do hereby proclaim November 30th as Small Business Saturday in Kent, Washington, and urge our residents and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday. So it's hard to believe that we are at Small Business Saturday, which is the day after Black Friday, which is the day after Thanksgiving. We are there. It is next week. And this is one of my favorite proclamations every year because it really speaks to the importance of our small businesses. So I'm going to come down, we'll do the presentation, and then have our KDP representatives.
After you, ladies.
What kind of charge is it? That's the same one.
Yeah, should be.
Get up wire. Okay, thank you.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Mayor Ralph and the council for this proclamation. Small businesses are really important to our community and especially our downtown. And when you shop small, you are supporting our small businesses. Again, while we recognize November 30th is Shop Small Saturday, we just want to remind everyone that you should be shopping your favorite local businesses and the eateries more than just one day of the month. So we encourage you to explore and find out more about downtown. If you want to know about the businesses in our downtown, you can visit www.downtownkentwa.com. And thank you so much. Did you want to say anything?
Just one tiny little thing. Thank you so much, Mayor Ralph. This is our pleasure to participate in Shop Small Saturday. And I just wanted to give a plug for the variety of small businesses and restaurants that we have in Kent. We're quite unusual, I think, in being able to offer food, drink, beautiful clothing from every continent and from all over the United States, as well as local produce and local artisans and so on. So I hope to see you out there. Every purchase counts, and thank you very much again.
Thank you.
All right, so remember, shop small. It makes a difference. All right, we are going to move on to a more serious proclamation, and joining us this evening is Albina Terpetska to accept this. I'll go ahead and read it. We will do a photo, and then if you could say a few words, that would be wonderful. So this proclamation says, whereas Holodomor, or murder by starvation, was one of the most tragic historical events in the history of Ukraine that resulted in the deaths of at least 5 million men, women, and children in Ukraine. And whereas Holodomor was a genocide committed by the Soviet regime under the rule of Joseph Stalin against the people of Ukraine. And whereas Washington State is home to nearly 100,000 recent immigrants with Ukrainian heritage, making it the 5th largest Ukrainian American population in the United States. And whereas with over 4,000 Ukrainian Americans, the city of Kent enjoys one of the largest Ukrainian diasporas of Washington State. And whereas Americans with Ukrainian heritage living in Kent have enriched our city through their leadership and contributions in business, academia, government, and the arts. And whereas this year marks the 90th anniversary of the Holodomor genocide, and whereas Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine has led to the displacement of nearly 7 million people and forced over 6 million to flee to neighboring countries, creating the fastest growing refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. And whereas the commemoration of Holodomor is meant to ensure that it will not be forgotten and that history doesn't repeat itself. Now therefore I, Dana Ralph, Mayor of Kent, do hereby proclaim November 23rd, 2024 to be Holodomor Remembrance Day in Kent, Washington, and encourage all residents, as well as our elected representatives, to commemorate the Holodomor with appropriate activities designed to honor its victims and educate further generations about this episode in the world's history.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Albina Terpetska, and I am assistant of the Honorary Consul of Ukraine in Washington State. We really appreciate your support, Mayor Ralph and council members, and in terms of everything that the U.S. and also the Kent City provided for Ukraine, and for your ongoing, unwavering belief that freedom will win. Holodomor, as you heard, is a tragic event in history, not just in Ukrainian history, but the history of the world. 28,000 people were dying a day, every day, which, to put in perspective, it's about 21% of Kent population. And it was during the time when Ukraine had great harvest, when our farmers were working really hard to grow grain, but all the food, everything that was produced was being taken by the Soviet Union while people were left to die. And during this time, just during 1 year, 1933, 4.72 million of tons of, not million, 0.2 tons of grain was collected from people, which was enough to feed 12 million people for the entire year. But at the same time, our people were dying. People were shot for trying to steal something from the field that they worked hard just to survive, including kids. So we really appreciate your support. And today, unfortunately, Ukraine is facing another evil spirit that is trying to destroy our nation, which is the same country who was trying already to destroy us in the past. But as we were able to endure the Holodomor, we are going to be able to endure this war. And we believe that freedom will win, that we will survive, and we will remain there as a nation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for the proclamation. We really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. So just for a little bit of context, I remember when I was growing up that one of our very first immigrant populations here to Kent was our community members from Ukraine. And I want to extend our wishes. We know that it is a resilient, strong community. We know that they're a huge part of who we are as Kent, and I want you to know that there is support from the community at large. So thank you again for being here tonight as we commemorate something that should never happen again. All right, we are going to move on. I do not see anyone here to accept the proclamation that we've got next, but I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then we will make sure it gets delivered. So we have a proclamation for Native American Heritage Month. Whereas Native American Heritage Month is recognized annually to honor Indigenous cultures, histories, traditional art, and achievements, and whereas in the face of broken treaties, violent displacement, and genocide, Native Americans have persevered and continued with remarkable strength, resistance, resilience, and self-determination. And whereas Native Americans, including local Muckleshoot, Duwamish, and many others, have been protectors and stewards of our natural resources and environment since time immemorial, and whereas the City of Kent values the many contributions made to the society by Native people in technology, science, philosophy, the arts, and especially our local Indigenous volunteers and leaders. And whereas the City of Kent recognizes that we must work to combat the impacts of discrimination and racist policies on Native people, past and present, and eliminate inequities stemming from colonization. And whereas Native American Awareness Week began in 1976 in recognition was expanded by Congress and approved by President George Bush in August of 1990, designating the month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month. Now, therefore, I, Dana Ralph, Mayor of Kent, do hereby proclaim November 2024 as Native American Heritage Month in Kent, Washington, and encourage all residents, as well as our elected representatives, to recognize and commemorate the important contributions that Native American people have made to our country and communities. I do want to recognize that our Kent Historical Society has some great information on the Indigenous people that called Kent their home since, as the proclamation says, time immemorial. If you're interested, please check that out. And we will make sure that we get this proclamation delivered. All right. That brings us to the end of our public recognition. I will turn it over to Council President for community events.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's events happening at Assessor Shower Center. On November 23, Seattle T-Birds are playing Hurricanes. And November 27, Seattle T-Birds are playing Wenatchee Wild. On December 5 is Hometown Holiday presented by Family Law Solutions. And December 7 is the Major Arena Soccer League's Tacoma Stars. They have their home opener and teddy bear toss. And on December 8 is Seattle T-Birds versus Spokane Chiefs. And Thunderbird games are actually very exciting. I've been to several of them, and I would encourage you haven't had the chance to visit AssessorShowerCenter.com to buy the tickets and have fun as a whole family. It's a very exciting thing to do during the holidays, I think, so personally. But with that, that is the end of events from my side. Thank you.
Also very much looking forward to Hometown Holiday. That's a concert that's been happening here in Kent for quite a few years now. It's sold out within the first, I think, 24 hours. So excited that event is coming as well. Councilmember Fincher, you have some events.
I just want to remind people about the Spotlight Series. Concerts are starting up, and you still have time to get your tickets for the Christmas extravaganza. So there is a Celtic Family Christmas that is a really good, another really good family event. It's actually interactive so that you and your kids are invited up on the stage at one point. But you can go to kentarts.com, nice and easy to remember, kentarts.com, and see the complete schedule, because there's also Lincoln Center Presents. They have a number of different concerts coming, Celtic music, folk music. So check it out, kentarts.com.
All right, thank you. We are going to move on now to Public Safety Report, and joining us tonight is Deputy Chief Matt Stansfield.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for having me tonight to deliver the public safety report. We got some good news and some recognition that we're going to do of some new officers that are going to get introduced to the council tonight, as well as an award that was presented a little bit ago for some really, really good work by one of the officers. So I'd like to start by inviting up Officer Rachel Reed and Officer Chris Heasley. They're both recent graduates of the academy, and so we're going to have them sworn in tonight. I'm going to tell you a little bit about both of them. Officer Rachel Reed comes to us. She was born in San Jose, California, and lived there until she was 10 when her family moved to Idaho. She joined the Army from Idaho, and while in the Army, she was stationed in California, Arizona, and Colorado. She attended college after high school and while in the Army and received a Bachelor of Arts in Intelligence Studies this year. She started college classes again to obtain a Bachelor of Science in Sports and Health Sciences. Rachel's also had the opportunity to learn French and Arabic while she was in the Army. Prior to coming to us, she was in government service. She was a corrections deputy at Mason County Jail for 2 years. When we asked Rachel why she chose Kent, she said it was because she thought her own morals aligned with what she saw in the agency. And when she was doing research comparing us to other agencies, we had more to offer in training, which is something Rachel thought was important as she chose an agency. She also chose us because she viewed us as being family friendly. Rachel has a 9-month-old daughter and a baby on the way. And Rachel, do you have anybody here tonight, family, that you'd like to introduce?
Yes, sir. I have my wife, Madeline, and we've been together for 4 years, and like you said, we have a almost 10-month-old daughter and a daughter on the way.
Okay, that's really cool. Thank you very much. Family's super important, so we really appreciate the support coming out this evening. Next, I'd like to introduce the council and the community to Officer Chris Heasley. Chris was born in Seoul, South Korea, and grew up in Wasilla, Alaska, and lived in California prior to that. He has a physical therapist assistant certification in Alaska and worked in that industry for about 6 years. Chris also served in the Army as an infantryman, and he served in the Army for 5 years there. He recognized during his recruitment process, when we were asking about why he chose Kent Police Department, that he thought the people that he interacted with were really professional. And in his experience, that was really, really important. The professionalism of the agency and how the people carried themselves was something he wanted to be a part of. And he thought that Kent presented itself as a very mission-driven organization. I don't think Chris, you have anybody here this evening? All right, well, we're really happy to have both these officers, and Mayor Ralph, if you want to come on down and do the honors.
It's always one of my favorite parts of the job. We get to make it official. So if you could both raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Chris Friesen,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the United States of America,
to the United States of America,
the state of Washington,
the state of Washington,
and the city of Kent.
and the city of Kent,
That I will uphold the Constitution and laws
that I will uphold the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Washington,
and the state of Washington,
and that I will obey the rules and regulations
and that I will obey the rules and regulations
of the Kent Police Department.
of the Kent Police Department.
Congratulations. That's the other test, is making sure you sign the right one. We will be copies of these.
So much to do. Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome to Kent.
It's a lot of instructions.
Thank you. Stress. All All right, the next piece of recognition that we want to do tonight is an award we gave for an event that happened over the summer, back in August, to an officer, Nick Lantz. And Nick's worked at the city for a while. He started out with us as a parking enforcement officer and then got hired as a commissioned police officer after a couple years of doing that. And I took the call on this incident that I'm going to describe that evening, and I've been doing this for a minute, and I never heard anything like this. And it was a really, really tough situation that the officers had to deal with, of a person in crisis at a fire station out at 156 in Kent Kangley, Station 75. And a woman was in crisis there. She was armed. She was, at the time, believed to be an employee at another government agency, not related to the city of Kent. But she was armed and she was suicidal in the fire station parking lot. And, you know, the fire station has to continue to operate. And what are we going to do to keep the firefighters safe, make sure they can carry out operations? It's the middle of the night, 3 in the morning. And Nick ended up being really integral to having as successful as resolution to this as we could, where no community members were harmed. The woman did end up shooting herself, but her life was able to be saved, which is a good outcome in totality based on what we were facing at the time. So Nick was given the Chief's Award of Exceptional Duty, so I'll just go ahead and read the certificate as it's written. On August 18th, 2024, Officer Nicholas Lantz responded to the scene of a suicidal subject armed with a gun at Fire Station 75. Officers arrived at Fire Station 75, quickly containing and evacuating the area. Through his focus, care, and experience in crisis negotiation, Officer Lantz established phone contact with the armed woman. Though through multiple calls, he maintained a positive and professional and solution-focused attitude during the hazardous situation that included her firing off multiple rounds into the air. Officer Lantz remained as the lead until he was relieved by a designated hostage negotiation officer. He continued his assistance, connecting with family and friends of the woman in hopes of finding information that would assist in a peaceful resolution. Officer Lantz then joined the rescue team, detaining and providing critical aid to the woman after a life-threatening self-sustained gunshot wound. She was stabilized for transport and survived her injuries. Officer Lantz is being commended for his calm, caring, and quick thinking in a stressful and critical event. Officer Lantz exemplifies the Kent Police Department's mission statement of protecting and caring, our value of service, and our vision of improving lives, given by Chief Padilla. So we just wanted to recognize Nick for the work he did that night. It was really, really important, really tough situation, and it resolved as probably as good as it could have. So we want to recognize him. So thank you. I can answer any other questions that the council or mayor may have.
All right, council, any questions?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Not seeing any. Thank you. Okay, we are going to move on to reports. Each member of the council, not only do they serve here for the scheduled council meetings that happen twice a month, but they are also part of regional committees. And the importance behind that is really that the voice of our Kent residents is represented at the regional and state policy levels, making sure that the things that our community needs, the things that we support, and the things that we don't support are recognized in those conversations. I am grateful for the level of participation that happens from this council. I'm going to start out with a couple high-level reports, finish my report with sticking with the theme of community support, and then I will pass it on. So I serve as the chair for the Regional Transportation Policy Board. We met last week. We are continuing to work through the update to the Regional Transportation Plan as we're figuring out scoping around that. One of the biggest topics of conversation is funding strategies. So the plan needs to have realistic funding strategies. The organization, Puget Sound Regional Council, the last time we did this, we really talked a lot about a vehicle miles traveled type of fee moving forward as the gas tax declines. Conversion to electric vehicles. We're seeing an increase in purchase of electric vehicles, but also just cars get a better mileage, so that gas tax revenue continues to decline. legislature has not taken action on this, and so there is some conversation about that previous assumptions regarding the level of that vehicle miles traveled, or RUC is what it's called, that might not be realistic. So looking at what are the other ways that we fund transportation projects in the state of Washington. As we go through that conversation, I will make sure to keep everyone here updated, but I think that's the biggest thing facing us in that transportation plan update. The other update I have is from SCIP, our South County Housing and Homelessness Partnership. I'm vice chair of that group. We met last week as well with funding recommendations, and I want to let council know so our $1590 that are coming in via sales tax. This council took some I think, commendable action to make sure that those dollars stayed here in our community as opposed to being distributed more broadly. And part of that funding is going, again, to support the project, a TWG project called Pandian that's up by Star Lake Station. So they came back for some additional funding, and that is one of the recommendations that's coming out of SCIP. So it is really our local dollars at work to make sure that we've got affordable housing for Kent residents and here in South King County. So grateful on that. The last two things I want to update, really, again, sticking with this theme of supporting the community, two really fun opportunities this last week. Knights of Columbus, one of our local chapters, was at Panther Lake Elementary School passing out jackets to all of the kindergarten and first graders. So if you ever want to see something that totally makes you smile, it is a bunch of kindergartners and first graders getting brand new, warm, puffy jackets. And then there is a very amazing woman that hand knits stocking caps, the kind with the little pom-poms on them. And each one of the kids gets to pick out a stocking cap that matches their brand new jacket. And the joy on their faces is pretty incredible. So I want to say thank you to the Knights of Columbus. They have passed out thousands of jackets over the years. And they do everything from selling apples to baking pies to raise money to buy these coats. And it's really an amazing thing to support our community. The other thing I want to highlight, Councilmember Larimer, I thought a lot about you. Sound Generation works in our community for the Meals on Wheels program. And it's based out of our senior center. They've got their own dedicated space down there. And I had an opportunity to do a ride along with our volunteer drivers as we were delivering meals to seniors in need in our community, and also talk about gratitude. These are folks that are not able to afford or able to access meals, and so dropping them off and making that connection, that knowing that somebody's checking in on them, lots of smiles, lots of thank yous. And I just want to send out a huge shout out to our volunteers that make this program possible. All the volunteer drivers went out that day last week where it was pouring down rain, more rain than we had ever had. It did not deter any of the volunteers. They were out there passing out meals. And we also have a volunteer at the senior center that crochets blankets. And so we were able to drop off lap blankets to the folks that were getting meals. And none of that would be possible without our amazing volunteers. So just want to say thank you to all of our Meals on Wheels volunteers. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Pat Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have two quick updates. First off, I want to let you know that staff is currently negotiating a renewal of the interlocal agreement that the city has with the Regional Fire Authority, Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority. As you know, the fire department, Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority, used to be part of Kent. And when we split, we entered an agreement where we don't share, but we provide services to each other in certain areas. For example, we do facilities maintenance for some of the facilities. They do fire inspections, permitting, that sort of thing. So we have an agreement that this council approves, approved a number of years ago. We are in the process of administratively making adjustments to that agreement, and that should be done in the next month or so, and I will report back when we get that finished. And then second and last, I'd like to commend our police department and our Kent Municipal Court. As you may be aware, there was an outage of the entire court computer system in the state of Washington over the past couple of weeks. And our court and jail worked closely together to ensure that we could continue to book people when needed and also keep people flowing through the court system. Of course, prosecutors were instrumental in that process as well. The problem has been resolved and we're back to normal operations. So because of their ability to work together, it was barely a blip for us. So thanks to those two groups for that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Council President.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had our council workshop earlier this evening, and we had an update on Green River, our annual update, and an update on National Pollution Discharge Elimination System with the new requirements that are set in place by EPA. And that presentation is available for public to view on our Facebook and our Kent TV 21 and our website. I do serve on Association of Washington City's Federal Legislative Priorities Committee, and we are actually meeting tomorrow. I also serve as the chair for Puget Sound Clean Air Agency Advisory Council, and we'll be meeting on Thursday. And my Growth Management Planning Council meeting is happening in December, so I do not have any updates at the moment. Probably will have updates maybe in December, possibly in January. We will see. With that, I'm going to start on my left here with Councilmember Troutner.
Thank you, Madam President. I am Vice Chair of the Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority Governance Board, and I serve on that board with Councilmember Larmer and Councilmember Boyd. We met on November 6th, and just to highlight a few things, we had several promotions, one captain, and several engineers. We recently had 81 entry-level firefighter candidates that completed the chief's interview, and 20 of those were extended offers, and that academy will start January 21st. We also had responded to over 40,000 incidences so far as of November 4th. So as you can see, the RFA is very busy. The Fire Allegiance model that is our contract with TriMed Ambulance has been in the works for about 6 weeks now, and so far we have transported over 278 people. So far it's proving to be very successful, and some of those employees that are contracting with the RFA from TriMed have recently gone through the fire interview process. So lots of benefits from that program, as you can see. And we also had a great presentation on the history of the Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority. And if any of my colleagues would like that, I am happy to share the PowerPoint. It's interesting how that all began and where we are at this point. We also voted on the preliminary budget. And that is all I have to report for that. I also am on the Regional Transit Committee. We will meet tomorrow afternoon. And then something I don't share very often, I am co-chair of the Watershed Ecosystem Forum, and I'm happy to share that I was recently reappointed to be vice chair of that committee for the next 2 years. We do get benefits from that as far as salmon habitat and recovery efforts that we provide here in Kent that coincide with a lot of the work that is done by the King County Flood Control District. And Madam Chair, that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Troutner. Councilmember Michaud, please.
Thank you, Madam President. During our committee of the whole, we had 2 parks items. The first was a contract for indigent legal defense services. We agreed to that. And then there was a consultant services agreement for the interurban trail at the Naden property. And then I serve as the liaison to the Human Services Commission, and this past meeting we mostly talked about the Human Services Strategic Plan and what the Commission is going to work on in the upcoming year. I also serve on the Washington Community Forestry Council, and we got an update from our federal DNR liaison, and so we talked about they're going to the federal level. DNR is going to work on a nationwide urban tree canopy map that will urban tree canopy coverage map, historical and current. And then we got a review of the state climate initiatives and their funding and budget, because when that the climate initiative was put on the ballot, we needed to pause taking in money in case it had to be paid back. So the budget is kind of wonky right now. And then we had a recognition of the new evergreen communities and tree cities. And then the state DNR put out an RFP to look at model tree ordinances for our policymakers. And this past week, I went to the senior center. Every year they have a Thanksgiving luncheon, and we had PD and corrections officers there serving the seniors, and the seniors really enjoy that and have a lot of fun. And then also this weekend, the mayor and I attended the first ever Green Kent event at Mill Creek Canyon and Earthworks Park, and we had quite a lot of attendance, so thank you to the volunteers. And that is the last Green Kent event for this year, but there'll be more to come next year.
Thank you, Councilmember Show. Councilmember Larmer, please.
Thank you, Council President. I serve on the King County Aging and Disabilities Advisory Council, and we met on the 8th, and we had a presentation from a representative of SHEBA in association with the Solid Ground nonprofit. And SHEBA stands for Statewide Health Insurance Benefits Advisors, and it was really cool to connect with and hear about this group. They are advisors on Medicare enrollment. They are completely unbiased. They offer free advice. They had a presentation, and I can tell you, just trying to absorb the slides, it's such a complicated topic when you get to that gap insurance. And we are in the Medicare open enrollment period still going on through December 10th. So there is a free webinar or virtual seminar. It's live instructor led, occurring December 3rd. And the best way to get information and connect with this resource would be I would simply Google Solid Ground and Medicare seminar. So it is December 3rd. Like I said, they gave us a preview of what they cover in the seminar. Really helpful in understanding your options there. So that was our presentation, and that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Larmer. Councilmember Boyd, please.
Okay. Yes, I also sit on the Puget Sound Regional Fire Governors Board with Councilmember Troutner and Councilmember Larmer. This has nothing to do with our meeting on November the 6th, but this past Saturday, I had the privilege of attending the Puget Sound Fire Training Community Emergency Response Team graduation, and it was amazing. There was 18 people there who went through 8 weeks of training, and they said it was really tough, but they're glad that they did it. And I'm glad that they did it too, because now at night I could go to sleep comfortably thinking that there's 18 people that are looking out for me and my community. And me alongside with Chief Carson, Division Chief Norm Golden, and Councilwoman Jovita McConnell, we were there passing out shirts, congratulating and telling everybody how much we appreciated them. And also I want everybody to remember tomorrow we're not having our regular governance board meeting, but we will be having the ceremony. We open up in a new administration building. The new Puget Sound Regional Fire Administration building would be over on and at the office we're on 84th Street. And we're going to be raising the new flag, and we will be having the honor guard also there, and it's going to be a sight to see. I mean, if you're in the area, please come by and have some coffee and donuts and meet the staff, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyd. Councilmember Fincher, please.
Thank you, Council President. MID, the Mental Illness and Drug Dependency Advisory Committee, will not meet in November. Our meeting will be a combination November-December meeting. It will be December 12th at noon for anyone who wants to join us. For KCD, King Conservation District, the candidate filing period for the Board of Supervisors is coming up the first week of December. So they're going to be electing 3 supervisors, and King County is the area. So if you're in one of the there's about 5 cities that are not part of KCD, but if you are in one of the cities that is, you are welcome to run. And what you would be doing is representing King County in conservation efforts. So that's water, that's air, that's everything that makes us live. So food is involved in that. There is a budget of about $9 million, about 30 employees, and you would be sitting as part of a group of 5 who helps make decisions as to how those funds are distributed, because there's not only grants, but there's also technical assistance that goes out. There's several ways that that money is spent to be able to help our community. So if you are a resident in King County, you are benefiting from it. And if you would like to help have more say in that, go online, kingcd.org, and you can read more information on past and on this upcoming collection. Arts Commission, sad to say, the Willis Street Greenway sculpture was removed due to vandalism. But on a good note, there's a new show over in the Centennial Gallery. So the two new artists have their work up, Carol Collin and Carolyn Doe. So be sure to go over. Free gallery, check out what's going on. It's right here in your city for you to enjoy. And something I forgot about King Conservation District, the native plant sale. That is open now. You can place your order for all sorts of native plants, whether you want to have a small garden or whether you need a windbreak. You know, there's all sorts of plants. Check them. And they are all native to Washington. Last, Public Works, we had a presentation from Laura on the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. And if you are a business in Kent, if you are a resident who, for instance, washes your cars, I suggest you go online, take a peek at that presentation. We also had some other good ones today, so check them out, and lots to learn from Public Works on what's going on in your city. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Fincher. Mayor Ralph, as you can see, we're all very busy being on different committees representing Kent well around the region. And with that, back to you.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to move on to item number 6 on our agenda, which is a public hearing. We have 3 this evening. So we will now hold the public hearing. The first one is the 2044 Comprehensive Plan. We will now hold this public hearing. Staff will give a presentation, and then I'll invite the public to provide written testimony and other evidence. Public input must relate to the subject of the public hearing, and council members, as you know, you may ask questions during the hearing. If you're here to testify on this matter or present written statements or evidence, please sign up with the city clerk at the front table. With that, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on the 2044 Comprehensive Plan, and I will ask Kristen Holsworth to make the presentation.
Good evening, Council. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I did want to make a note. I snuck some executive summaries into your packets. They weren't available for print when we distributed the packets, but I did provide, I think it's pretty good. We got over 100 and some pages down to 7 pages for a summary of what's in our comprehensive plan. If you would like these to take to any other meetings that you're at or interactions with the public, we can definitely print more packets for you. So tonight we are here. I think, 2 years ago, we were talking about what does Kent look like over the next 20 years, and tonight we're here to talk about the draft plan and hold the hearing. We are excited. The draft plan was released in October. It has been sent to the state, to various agencies at the state, to PSRC and to King County for different reviews through different agencies and organizations. It's a really, really exciting plan. It has done a lot. I'm here today before you, but really there's about 30 different staff members that we've worked with that have had their fingerprints on it, from technical expertise to also thinking about coordination between our departments. So we started with the question, where will you be in 2044? And not just you, but what about your parents? Are they going to have options where they can age in place? What about your kids? Will they want to live in Kent? Will they be able to afford to live in Kent? And then also about our neighbors. So we do have, per state law, to plan for our housing and jobs target allocations. One of the significant things that is new in this plan, in the previous comprehensive plan, we used a vision from 1994, which had been updated slightly over the years. It was actually 15 different vision statements. What we did this time is we said, okay, is this vision really telling a picture and a story of where we want to be as a city and what we want to be known for? And it talked about transportation, it talked about housing, but it didn't necessarily bring it all together. And so we used the 2018 strategic framework as a baseline and then worked with the community, our advisory group, land use and planning board members, and you all to create a vision and 5 guiding principles. So that's new in this plan, and the vision for Kent over the next 20 years is that we are a safe, beautiful, connected, inclusive, and thriving city where our unique and diverse communities are embraced and reflected in businesses and places. And we have 5 different principles to support that. We also did a pretty significant overhaul through this periodic update to reflect consistency throughout the plan. And so we have our vision and guiding principles, and then each element supports those vision and guiding principles and is also informed by. So it works both ways for those elements. And so what do we envision Kent for the next 20 years to look like? We did hear from the community pretty strongly that areas where we had said housing and transit belong together, there was a confirmation of that vision. And so West Hill Midway area where light rail's coming in, downtown, the Industrial Valley, all of that vision continues because we've done a lot of really good work that set the course. And we also heard from the community about changes coming into the East Hill and opportunities to re-envision that corridor. And so this also includes the recognition of bus rapid transit coming along Benson Corridor, or 104th and 108th, and also the vital connection from Kent's East Hill to downtown and also into Midway to light rail. So we have our designated activity centers. What we did is we translated that nice bubbly map into actual parcel level changes. And we have also notified all of the property owners who will be subject to property changes. One of the other things I wanted to highlight, because of some of the state laws that have happened and just best practices over time, we've condensed our future land use map designations instead of calling things single family with a density per acre, because that's really that's a myth now in terms of the way the state law has changed how we calculate units on lots. We've changed it to a scale of R1 through R4. So if it's purely residential without any commercial or mixed use components, R1 would be the least intense densities or uses, all the way up to R4, which would be what we now consider traditional multifamily apartments. We do have more intense uses, but those are in our transit-oriented locations and our mixed use areas. This plan also took a significant step. We had already started a lot of efforts with housing through our Kent Housing Options Plan. We also did a lot of planning to make sure that we have capacity and land available for development at all levels of affordability, including special housing needs that are required by the state. And so, again, we've talked about this a lot. I don't want to rehash all of the details, but really, Kent has a need at the extremely low income, that less than 30% area median income. It's actually less than the county as a whole, so we have comparatively more housing in our city for that population, but still need more. But a bulk and a majority of the housing that we need is for workforce and market rate housing, and that really is to balance out jobs so that we have less congestion on the roads and we can keep Kent community members in Kent. I'm also excited to announce we have a new climate element. And so there is a new state law that says in 5 years we have to have a full climate element. We already were taking the steps, so we're on our path to get there. This climate element does tie together and identifies a lot of the work that we've already done as a city. And then it also identifies what's required to meet the state requirements in those 5 years. And so it starts forth with its goals and policies, how we plan on getting there, and what will lead that effort. There's a ton of appendices. There's just so much show your work requirements now with the state and some of the PSRC and King County requirements. So these are all also going to be part of the adoption process. Because we had the appendices, we will be adopting all of the 6-year capital improvement and financing plans that are part of the ongoing basis to make sure that what we say as our vision and our plan is truly being funded and backed by dollars, and that the budget is reflecting the comp plan and vice versa, and that they're consistent. So quickly, I just want to provide a little bit of the background of comments and feedback that we received. On last Tuesday, November 12th, Land Use and Planning Board did hold a public hearing. We had a little bit of technical difficulties with the online audio part, but I was able to send that out after the fact, and people were really appreciative. I also was able to talk to people after the fact if they had any clarifying questions. Since that meeting, we've received, I think, 6 comment letters, if I'm counting right. I'll walk through. Really, they're broken up into a couple categories. One is for, I mentioned people were notified if their property was changing for the future land use map and zoning. We received 2 letters regarding that. We received 2 letters from state agencies that were specific to the comprehensive plan, and then we also received just general comments from the public and a late-breaking one from a nonprofit organization. And so I'll walk through those really quickly. We also posted the comprehensive plan as a draft on our website. We use a system called Conveo, and it literally lets people look at the document and add comments in. And so we're working on filtering those through, and we'll be following up with the department. So when we come to committee of the whole, if we do any text changes, we will identify those for you at that time. So just a quick overview. The first comment letter about a property, this is the Baker property. So this is, to orient you, we're northwest of Panther Lake, right at city limits with Renton. This whole area is a variety of multifamily and commercial mixed use zones already. And so we were proposing, because there's some large properties and some people that own multiple properties in that area, to make it all consistently commercial, community commercial mixed use. At the hearing last week, we got a letter that notified us after the hearing that there's actually 2 parcels here that are owned by the same property, the Bakers, and they are in the process. They have a meeting with us in December to submit applications for 12-lot subdivision. And so according to Washington state laws, if they submit that application before the effective date of this ordinance, I'm looking at our city attorney, but if they submit, they will be vested and we will honor the work that they've done. And so they've already done wetland delineations, they've done civil studies. They really are at the finish line of submitting, and they're just waiting to turn their paperwork in and show it. And so we've worked with their representative to let them know that we will honor, if they submit complete applications and meet those requirements, we'll honor that. And we suggest as staff that we move forward with the recommendation to change the zoning. They can still vest and build under the old conditions, but if for some reason financing runs afoul or they can't build in the future, we're committed to the vision of what can be otherwise with the parcel aggregations. And so they were amenable and they understood those conditions. And so with that one, that's just that comment letter for your awareness. The second property letter we received was the DeVore property. This is off of Kent Canely, immediately west of where the Safeway grocery shopping center area is. And this is a large parcel that's split zone. So you can see on the right, pretty much everything around it is yellow, which is single family, except for this little piece around Kent Canely that calls for high density multifamily. The trick here is that there are wetlands that extend, let's see if this will work. This very faint line here extends almost to Kent Canely, and that is the edge of a wetland, not even including the buffer. And so when we were doing evaluation, there's very limited development potential, and so it's being taxed and it's being marketed as this has high multifamily potential or commercial uses. And that's just, when we looked, we've done a lot of previous conversations with the property owner over the past. While there may be development potential, the cost to actually do that, all of the grade and fill and mitigation really hasn't made the project pencil out. And so making this consistent with other plans that are already in motion and the surrounding area is our recommendation on this one. The property owner would like it to remain, but when we've had conversations explaining why the city's proposing to rectify it to match the rest of the area and reflect more realistic development conditions. In terms of agency letters, we received one from the Department of Natural Resources. This one, I think it may have gotten cut off in your packet. I apologize for that. It has 3 little tables or tables with columns, and it has the requirement, and then it says if the city has done it, yes or no. And then there's a weird no comment there. The heading on that should be agency requires change. And so the good news is what DNR is saying is, check, you've done it. No, we are not requiring any new changes from you. But when you read it without the headings that weren't included in the original email, it looks a little bit scary. So the DNR comment is basically saying you've met the requirements that are in state law regulatory that you have to meet. They're not just advisory comments. Department of Fish and Wildlife also provided a letter. These are not regulatory requirements, they are recommendations. We are reviewing that letter. We worked with Public Works to respond on several of the topics already. Some there were just clarifications we wanted to make. Some of the language for policy changes we are going to consider and bring before you for Committee of the Whole. But by and large, a lot of it is really focused on implementation efforts of when we update critical areas standards or other, when we're doing other work to keep in mind resources or other requirements. And then finally, we have general public comment letters. And so the first one was about, I think there was some confusion about what displacement meant, and there was some misunderstanding that it meant that the city was going to be displacing people instead of that the neighborhood was at displacement risk and there were pressures outside that could result in displacement. And so clarified that we're not making anyone do anything with their property. We're not planning on going in and buying or knocking down anyone's houses. And then there was comments associated with that letter and as well as the next letter about preservation of trees on existing properties. And that really, again, comes down to a programmatic and implementation level of what would a program like that look like in terms of staffing and priorities and policies. And then the last comment letter we received was from FutureWise, which is an environmental organization. I did do a quick review of it. It came in, I apologize if you didn't get it in your inbox, it came in about 15 minutes before the deadline. We had we've been in communication with them previously. They had some comments regarding permanent supportive housing and some of the requirements that they thought we had in our development code. I clarified to say that we view all multifamily housing, whether it's senior housing, income restricted, permanent supportive, or market rate, they're all under the same development regulations. And so they said, oh, I'm sorry for that confusion on that comment. And then the second comment was about making sure that we did kind of the show your work part in the appendices. I pointed out the clarification and said, we did an analysis not of just the 0 to 30, 30 to 50 AMI brackets, but we have a separate appendices with an analysis of emergency housing. And we have almost double what we need for capacity of if someone wanted to build and locate emergency housing in the city. So we're required by state to evaluate to make sure we have enough land space given our regulations. And so they said, oh, thank you for clarifying that. We appreciate it. They said they still, have concerns about sheltering unsheltered populations, and we would like to continue to have a conversation. But they said the work that we had done was really exemplary, and they also, FutureWise can sometimes be a little bit. They have a lot of comments, so I wasn't sure where it was going to go, and they said the work that we did was really exemplary and something to have as a model for other jurisdictions in our thoroughness and our equity analysis. So I count that as high praise that we received that. So general public comments that we received, we had basically on that platform, anyone could comment and review the document. They're in three categories. One was focused on policy, a lot of interest in bicycle lanes, a lot of interest in multimodal transportation, a lot of appreciation for the work that we've done, and really saying, I think Ken's headed in the right direction. Thank you. This is wonderful for a variety of the elements. There were a lot of comments that were focused on implementation, things like updating our solar and our EV charging standards and things that are more not really policy focused, but as we're looking into implementation, we'll focus and review those comments and consider them. And then we're human, and we were trying to get this document out. We did find substantial typos. I was explaining to our Land Use and Planning Board member, we, in an effort to not have to proofread twice, we just used staff reviews as we were going back and forth. And for the final document, the consultants actually have a proofreader go in and finish it, but they want to make sure they're not charging us twice for that. So if you find typos, you can keep them coming, but I think I have a list of about 50. So yeah, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions and address any public comments.
All right, thank you, Kristen. Council, any questions for Kristen at this point? All right, I am not seeing any, and I want to point out that part of that is the amazing job you have done in keeping council informed and bringing all of those decision points to them through the process. I think that I am hearing that is not necessarily happening in all other cities. So thank you for that. All right, Kim, do we have anybody signed up for comment?
We do not.
Okay. With that, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. All right, before I turn it over to Kristen for our second public hearing, I do want to just provide a shout out to not only you and the 30-plus staff members, but to our advisory committee that stepped in and came to lots of meetings, and especially because maybe I'm a little biased and it's near and dear to my heart, our Land Use and Planning Board members. Many, many years ago, I joined the Land Use and Planning Board right at about the time that we were updating the comp plan. And I remember thinking, this is overwhelming and it's a lot of new terminology and things to learn and understand, but I think it's a fantastic way to help guide our city, and just want to say I am super grateful for all of the time that our LUBP members have put into this. So yeah, I think it's applause worthy. So
Kristen was always accessible. So very accessible. Returns calls and picks up the phone, love it.
Yeah.
Sorry, super technical thing. If we could maybe just get a motion to add the written comments that were received.
Oh, I apologize. I skipped right over that. Sorry. Do I need to reopen the hearing to do that?
No, you don't need to reopen it because the hearing's been closed. We just need to add the written comments into the record.
All right. Is there a motion to submit the comments into the record?
So move.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. We will now move on to the public hearing on the ordinance adopting and updating SEPA categorical exemptions. As with the last one, staff will give presentation. I'll invite the public to provide testimony, written statements, and other evidence. The testimony must relate to the public hearing at hand. With that, we will go ahead and open the public hearing on the ordinance adopting and updating SEPA categorical exemptions. We are now open, and I would like to have ask Lindsay Walker to make the presentation.
Before she jumps in, I just want to give a shout out to Lindsay. She is on loan to Long Range Planning. We've had a little bit of just staffing turnover and change, and Lindsay joined us about, 2 years ago at the City of Kent. And about 6 months ago, she offered to join us to work on behavioral health facilities on the Long Range side. She's done a fantastic job with that project, and we've thrown so many other things at her, including the comprehensive plan. She also was part of the Giving campaign, and so she's had her hands full and busy, but she's just exemplary of why Kent is so great and why I love working here with other staff. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. So as part of the comprehensive plan, we recently released our final environmental impact statement. So all the work we did for that can be utilized to adopt these new SEPA exemptions. In 1971, Washington established SEPA as a way to help the public, including applicants and agencies, understand how a proposal or action may affect the environment. Most larger developments, including development near critical areas as well as development code updates, will go through a SEPA process to determine environmental impacts. So we already have exemptions that the City of Kent has adopted consistent with state laws. A new state law does allow for additional exemptions for residential and mixed-use development if it's in compliance with the updated comprehensive plan and development code regulations. So the purpose of these exemptions is really to streamline permitting and to reduce costs to support more housing. So the new exemptions will allow the type of development shown on the screen to be exempt from SEPA review unless the proposal meets other thresholds that need to be reviewed for environmental impacts. For example, lands covered by water, like wetlands and streams, and NPDES permits for sites over 5 acres would not be exempt from SEPA. They still need to be reviewed. So this is helping to meet our housing goals because there's other environmental requirements that already cover these topics. So this will eliminate double reviews. To implement this, we decided to repeal our downtown plan action ordinance and infill exemption codes and replace them with the new exemption codes while expanding the cultural resource protection portion of the code. Relevant sections, like required amenity space, were moved to our development standards in 1504. The infill exemption covers downtown development as well, so repealing the plan action ordinance is to prevent conflicting codes. We received one agency public comment from the Washington State Department of Transportation requesting notification of projects within a half-mile of their intersections. This public comment will be in front of you. We've already updated our forms to notify them of all projects subject to public notice. Last week, Land Use and Planning Board voted to recommend approval, and this concludes my presentation.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Council, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Kim, do we have anyone signed up to testify?
We do not.
All right, then we do need a motion to submit the written comments into the record. Is there a motion?
So move.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Finally, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Got a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Public hearing is now closed. All right, we are going to move on to our final public hearing of the evening. We will now hold a public hearing on various rezones and zoning code changes to implement the 2044 comprehensive plan. Again, staff will provide the presentation, and the public is invited to provide comment as long as it relates to the topic of the public hearing. And council, you may ask questions during the presentation. So with that, we will go ahead and open the public hearing on various rezones and zoning code changes to implement the 2044 comprehensive plan. The hearing is now open, and I'll turn it back over to Lindsay.
Thank you. So since the city is updating our land use map, we're also initiating the new zones that match those updated land uses. Applicants are able to initiate rezones if the land use designation supports the new zone, but it's often a lengthy and expensive process for the applicant. So since we're the ones updating this land use, we want to finish that process by changing the zoning as well. This is a consolidated map showing all the areas of rezones. This may look familiar as it does follow the land use changes that Kristen presented on earlier this year. They're mostly in East Hill along Benson Corridor and Kent Kangley, but we do have a few parcels in West Hill. And while most areas are being upzoned to support higher density or a mix of uses, we do have one site along the southern portion of Kent Kangley, shown in yellow, being downzoned due to it being encumbered by critical areas. Our GIS team was actually able to create an interactive map, so that's now available on our comprehensive plan project website. So in addition to these rezones, we're also proposing code changes. We are proposing to limit new gas stations in mixed-use zoning and removing them as an allowed use within the neighborhood convenience commercial zone based on community feedback. We're also updating that neighborhood convenience commercial zone to allow the use of greenhouse nurseries to align with the existing conditions. So we did receive 2 comment letters regarding rezoned properties that Kristen had gone through earlier with the comprehensive plan. And Land Use and Planning Board voted to recommend approval last week, and that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. Council, any questions? Okay, Kim, do we have anyone signed up?
We do not.
Okay, do we have comments to admit into the record? All right, a motion would be in order.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Those comments are submitted, and then a motion would be in order to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The final public hearing is closed. Thank you very much. All right, we are going to move on to public comment. I'm seeing Kim shake her head. Nobody signed up for public comment?
No.
Okay, that moves us down to the consent calendar. The consent calendar is an item, a compilation of items that the council has already considered at the at both workshops and committee of the whole meetings, had an opportunity to have discussion, ask questions, and these things have passed out of the committee of the whole without any controversy. We have items A through H this evening. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent calendar is adopted. Item number 9 is other business. We do not have any. Item 10 is bids. We do not have any, nor do we have an executive session. I do want to remind everyone that for the month of December, council only meets once. That meeting is on the 10th. So instead of the first and the third Tuesdays, just that meeting in the middle on that second week. So with that, also everyone stay safe out there. I'm sorry I was a little distracted at the end, getting lots of texts about power outages and things like that. So please stay safe and check on your neighbors. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I hope there's more to the date than this, right?